Hi everyone. Okay, so back to Bible reading. Right, Henny? You ready? You ready to hear the word of God, Henny? Love you. Okay. Maybe we'll play their song. Hold on, let me find it. And then we'll read Genesis chapter 19 and Matthew chapter 11. But let's start out with their Guster and Henny's theme song.
Again. Okay. Guster and Henny, Henny and Guster, Guster and Henny and Guster.
Okay. Guster's on the other sofa sleeping, so he's not in the shot. All right, Henny, let's read. Okay, so Genesis chapter 19. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who've never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them, but don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Get out of our way," they replied, and they said, "This fellow came here as an alien, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The 2 men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life, but I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zoar. Zoar, what does that mean? Okay, verse 23. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, including all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there's no man around here to lie with us, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then lie with him and preserve our family line through our father." That night, they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and lay with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I lay with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go and lie with him, so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went and lay with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son and named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. Okay, well, that was Genesis chapter 19, and wow. What can I say but wow. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Bible is very dramatic and rough, because I mean, that's pretty rough, everything that went down in that chapter. It's like, ooh, awkward. To be honest, it's like awkward reading it, and kind of nasty. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, that's the truth. But it's real, so it happened, I believe, and life is messy. There is a little commentary in this Bible. I wonder if I should read it. I'm reading from the Archaeological Study Bible. I guess I could read it. We'll see, I'll try. It's the Study Bible's commentary on this passage. According to Genesis 19:24, burning sulfur rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah, obliterating both of these cities as well as the surrounding region. To date, the location of Sodom is still disputed, but note possible location of Sodom and Gomorrah indicated by a box and arrow on map 1 in the back of this Bible. Some people place it on the southwestern side of the Dead Sea, others on the north side of this body of water near the mouth of the Jordan, and still others at modern Bab Edeh on the southeastern side of the Dead Sea. Recently, archaeologists have focused significant attention upon, and I can't pronounce this because it's another language, but I'll try, Bab Edeh, where they have found evidence of several early Bronze Age occupation levels. Although a layer of ash and burned debris has been discovered in excavations there, the most dramatic evidence that this may indeed be the site of ancient Sodom comes from a nearby cemetery. The dead had been interred in charnel houses or mausoleums constructed above ground. 5 of these structures were excavated and found to have been burned. A detailed examination of the largest of these, 26 feet by 51 feet, indicated that the fire had begun on the roof. Sorry. I'm trying to get a cute shot here. So that the fire had begun on the roof. Geological investigations determined that an earthquake had added to the devastation. Let's see if I can get his cute face. There. Okay. Since there were several distinct occupation levels at Bab Ededra, evidence of habitation at the site during various time periods, evidence had to be handled carefully. For example, there is a substantial ash layer associated with the occupation in Early Bronze 1, the oldest of the Early Bronze occupation levels, but this cannot be associated with the biblical destruction of Sodom because its ruins point to a date far earlier than the time of Abraham. In fact, this earlier fire-related damage appears to have been the work of invaders. The Early Bronze 3 city is more likely to be the biblical Sodom, a much larger city. Evidence points to its destruction by a combination of earthquake and fire in approximately 2350 BC. People evidently reoccupied the site in Early Bronze 4, but it appears to have been permanently abandoned for some reason around 2150 BC. So there you have it, some archaeological commentary on that passage. But let me see when this Bible was published. Get the year. This was published in, it was kind of published a long time ago now. So there may be updates on that, because this Bible was published in 2005, and we are now in 2023. So who knows? There could be a lot more information on the site of Sodom and Gomorrah. If anybody knows about it, feel free to comment. Okay, let's go to Matthew. I forgot what chapter. Is it 11 now? Okay, Matthew chapter... Turning the pages. Matthew chapter... Matthew chapter 11. I'll read that. Okay. After Jesus had finished instructing his 12 disciples, he went on from there to teach and preach in the towns of Galilee. When John heard in prison what Christ was doing, he sent his disciples to ask him, "Are you the one who was to come, or should we expect someone else?" Guster is snoring. If you can hear him, I don't know. You probably can't. It probably doesn't pick it up. But if you hear a funny little squeaking snore, that's Guster on the sofa. Jesus replied, "Go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the good news is preached to the poor. Blessed is the man who does not fall away on account of me." As John's disciples were leaving, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. "What did you go out into the desert to see? A reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes? No, those who wear fine clothes are in kings' palaces. Then what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'I will send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you.' I tell you the truth, among those born of women, There has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist, yet he who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been forcefully advancing, and forceful men lay hold of it. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John, and if you are willing to accept it, he is the Elijah who was to come. He who has ears, let him hear. To what can I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, here is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is proved right by her actions. Then Jesus began to denounce the cities in which most of his miracles had been performed because they did not repent. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! If the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon on the day of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted up to the skies? No, you will go down to the depths. If the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Sodom, it would have remained to this day. But I tell you that it will be more bearable for Sodom on the day of judgment than for you. At that time Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this was your good pleasure. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I like that. That's Matthew chapter 11. And, it's really interesting that he mentions Sodom, because we just read about Sodom and Gomorrah and the devastation of that city and the judgment that fell on that city. But here in Matthew, he's like saying basically that if he had performed the miracles in Sodom, that they would have believed him and repented and turned to him. It's interesting. There's so much about the Bible. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and I don't know the verse or where it is right now, but it's I believe, help thou my unbelief. Because there's so much I believe and have faith in, but then there's so much that's unusual as we read the Bible that's hard. So really, basically, that's my prayer. I believe, help thou my unbelief. And if you are a believer, that's wonderful. And if you're a believer and struggle with some things, maybe that's your verse as well. But hopefully God will bring illumination as we read through the Bible. And I'm really happy that I'm reading the Bible. Okay, you know what? This is long, but I'm going to read the little archaeological note in this Bible about Chorazin, which is one of the towns he mentioned. Matthew 11. Early in his ministry, Jesus left his hometown of Nazareth and settled in Capernaum, located on the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. He ministered in Capernaum and in the nearby towns of Chorazin, often spelled Chorazin, and Bethsaida. See map 11 to locate all these towns. Chorazin is mentioned in the Bible only in Matthew 11, verse 21, and the parallel passage in Luke 10, verse 13, where all three towns came under Jesus' condemnation for their failure to repent. They were, after all, the cities in which most of his miracles had been performed. Matthew 11, verse 20. Chorazin is located about an hour's walk, or 2.5 miles north of Capernaum, on a basalt plateau known as the Chorazin Plateau, about 800 feet above the Sea of Galilee. It is described in Jewish sources as a medium-sized town noted for its wheat production. The main road to Damascus passed by a little to the north, so commerce as well as agriculture played an important role in the economy of the community. The ruins of Chorazin cover an area of more than 80 acres. Excavations and literary sources indicate that the city was founded in the 1st century AD and thrived until the Arab conquest in the 8th century. A civic center and a number of domestic complexes, all made of local black basalt stone and dating from the 3rd to 8th centuries AD, have been uncovered. The civic center, arranged in an east-west direction on the gently sloping plateau, is comprised of a synagogue, ritual bath complex, cisterns, and public buildings. After the Arab conquest, Chorazin declined and was eventually abandoned. Okay, a little archaeological note about that passage. All right, everyone. Oh, you know what I want to do? I wanted, where'd my phone go? Oh, I wanted to say, in closing this, when I find it, wait, sorry for the dead space, dead air. Yeah, so I just want to leave you with this. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. All right. Goodbye.